course of 8 years, a man the world barely noticed stole over $80 million, and no one even realized it until he was long gone. They called him Carlos, but even that name turned out to be fake. He worked night shifts at one of the most secure government financial institutions in Latin America, a building lined with cameras, guards, and security checkpoints. But somehow, the man with the mop and the faded blue jumpsuit was the most dangerous person in the entire building. Carlos was invisible. No one questioned him as he moved from floor to floor. He carried trash bags, pushed carts, and emptied bins. But what no one noticed was that every night he was studying the bank. He memorized staff schedules, noted which computers were left unlocked, tracked when the security systems updated, and most importantly, he learned how every person treated him, like he didn't exist. The cleaning company that employed him was a third-party contractor, and like most outsourced roles, the bank barely paid attention to who came in and out. No ID badges scanned, no thorough checks, just a clipboard with a checklist, signed every night by a sleepy night manager who never once looked him in the eyes. For 3 years, Carlos didn't touch a dollar. He cleaned, watched, and waited. He took notes on every pattern, every flaw, the guard's smoke breaks, the IT guy who always left his password on a sticky note, the accountant who left early on Fridays and didn't log out of her computer. He studied them like a script until he knew exactly how the entire place breathed. Then came the first test. One night, he opened an unlocked office computer, inserted a USB stick, and walked away. It contained a simple program that copied the bank's internal transaction logs and sent them to an encrypted server he had built at home from salvaged computer parts. No red flags were triggered. No antivirus went off. The IT department never even noticed. He did it again, next week, and again, and again. Within months, Carlos had access to confidential internal data, passwords, money transfer protocols, and internal memos, but he still didn't steal. He was patient, something most criminals aren't. His breakthrough came during the annual budget transfer, a time when hundreds of millions in government funds were moved between departments. The system was under stress. Emails were flying, deadlines were tight, and that's when Carlos struck. He created a fake internal transfer request, carefully mimicking the bank's format, even using the exact language that the real officials used. He rerouted $240,000 to a small, offshore account he'd set up 6 months earlier under a fake name. The transaction blended in perfectly. The accountants assumed it was part of the chaotic end-of-quarter movement. It went unnoticed. So, he tried it again. A little more this time, $480,000. Still nothing. Then, $1.2 million. Still quiet. Over the course of 5 years, Carlos stole amounts ranging from $300,000 to $5 million in a single transaction, always during times of peak financial activity. He created fake shell companies, dummy contractors, and false service providers, all with legitimate-sounding names and professional websites. Every time the money moved, it looked like a real transaction to the untrained eye. And the genius part? He didn't move the money to his personal accounts. He funneled it through charities, offshore trusts, and investment firms that looked legitimate. Some of the money even got donated back to local institutions, helping him build a reputation as a quiet philanthropist in a nearby town, using a completely different identity. The bank underwent an internal audit. It was thorough, brutal. People were fired, departments were restructured, but Carlos kept sweeping the floors. The auditors even walked past him, twice. He was invisible, untouchable, and he knew it. By year 8, Carlos had siphoned off a total of $80 million, spread across 12 countries and 37 different financial entities. Then one day, he disappeared. No resignation, no forwarding address. He left his mop, his jumpsuit, and his employee badge in the locker. Gone. At first, no one noticed. A week passed, then 2. A cleaning company assumed he had quit, sent a replacement. Business went on. It wasn't until 6 months later, during a cross-border fraud investigation in another country, that his network of offshore accounts was partially uncovered. Investigators followed a trail of shell companies, only to realize that the same pattern kept appearing, all tied to contracts and transactions from the same bank. When the bank was alerted, they began tracing back the fraudulent transfers. The audit team was stunned. The forgeries were so clean, the fake companies so well placed, that even with full knowledge, they struggled to separate real from fake. Then they pulled internal security footage from years earlier, and the horrifying truth hit them. the man behind it all was never in a suit. He was pushing a mop cart. No one knows exactly where Carlos is today. Some say he vanished into South America. Others believe he started a new identity in Eastern Europe. What's certain is this: he pulled off one of the cleanest, quietest, and most brilliantly planned thefts in modern history. And he did it all while wearing rubber gloves. He didn't need a weapon. He didn't need a crew. He just needed you to not notice him.